Have you ever wondered why some people seem to have all the opportunities in life, while others struggle to get ahead? What if I told you that the answer could be as simple as knowing one particular language? A language that opens doors to better jobs, higher education, and connections across the globe. A language that holds the power to completely transform your future. This is not just another language learning podcast. Today, we're going to uncover the shocking truth about how English became the most powerful language in the world and why mastering it could be the single most important decision you ever make. My name is Grace, and I'm about to take you on a journey through time and across continents to reveal how one small island language grew to dominate global business, technology, entertainment, and education. By the end of our time together, you'll understand not just why English matters, but how it can fundamentally change your life. But first, let me ask you a question. Have you ever felt stuck, limited by where you were born or the opportunities available to you? If so, you're not alone. Millions of people around the world face these same barriers. But what if I told you there's a key that can unlock a world of possibilities? A skill that could potentially double or even triple your income. That's what we're exploring today. So sit back, grab a cup of coffee, and join me on this fascinating exploration of the world's most influential language. I promise that by the end of this podcast, you'll never look at English the same way again. Let's start with a simple fact: English wasn't always important. In fact, for most of human history, it was considered an insignificant language spoken by a small group of people on a rainy island off the coast of Europe. If we traveled back in time about 500 years, the powerful languages of the world were Latin, Greek, Chinese, and Arabic. These were the languages of empire, scholarship, trade, and religion. English wasn't even on the map. So how did this relatively obscure language rise to become the global powerhouse it is today? The story begins with empire, continues with economic power, and culminates with cultural dominance. Picture this: it's the 1600s, and England is beginning to flex its imperial muscles. But compared to other European powers like Spain and France, England wasn't particularly large or intimidating. What England did have, however, was something that would change the course of history: a powerful navy. The British built one of the most formidable naval forces the world had ever seen. With these ships, they traversed the globe, establishing colonies and trading posts across continents. Soon, the British flag flew over territories in North America, the Caribbean, Africa, India, Australia, and parts of Southeast Asia. By the 19th century, the British Empire had become the largest empire in history, covering nearly a quarter of the Earth's land surface and ruling over 450 million people. Wherever the British went, they brought their language with them. In colonial schools, government offices, and trading centers, English became the language of power and opportunity. Children in British colonies were taught in English. Official business was conducted in English. Legal proceedings happened in English. The relationship was clear. If you wanted to advance in colonial society, you needed to speak the language of the colonizers. What's fascinating is what happened next. Even after these colonies gained independence, India in 1947, Nigeria in 1960, and many others throughout the 20th century, they didn't abandon English. Instead, many former colonies kept English as an official language alongside their indigenous languages. Why? Because English had become embedded in their educational, legal, and governmental systems. It had become the language of the elite, the educated, and the economically successful. Today, countries like India, Nigeria, South Africa, Singapore, and dozens of others still use English as either their primary or secondary official language. In India alone, approximately 125 million people speak English, making it the second largest English-speaking country in the world after the United States. That's the first part of our story, how English spread across the globe through the vehicle of empire. But empire alone doesn't explain English's current dominance. After all, other imperial powers like France, Spain, and Portugal also spread their languages around the world. To understand why English in particular rose above the rest, we need to look at what happened after World War II, when the global balance of power shifted dramatically. The year was 1945. The world had just emerged from the most devastating conflict in human history. Cities across Europe and Asia lay in ruins. Traditional powers like Britain, France, and Germany were economically exhausted and physically damaged. But amid this destruction, one nation emerged not just unscathed, but stronger than ever before: the United States of America. Unlike its European allies and enemies, the United States didn't suffer bombing or invasion on its mainland during the war. Instead, the American economy had grown enormously as it produced the weapons, vehicles, and supplies needed by the Allied forces. American factories were humming, American technology was advancing, and American financial institutions were stronger than ever. When the dust settled after World War II, the United States found itself in an unprecedented position of global power. It had the world's largest economy, its most powerful military, and a newfound commitment to international engagement. And as American influence spread around the world, so did the American version of the English language. This brings us to the second great wave of English language dominance, the rise of American economic, technological, and cultural power. Let's break down the key factors that cemented English as the global language in the post-war period. First, there's the economic factor. After World War II, the American dollar became the world's reserve currency through the Bretton Woods Agreement of 1944. International trade was conducted in dollars. Oil was priced in dollars. Global financial institutions like the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank operated primarily in English. As businesses increasingly operated across borders, they needed a common language for communication, and English was the natural choice. Think about this today. If you work for an international company, chances are that English is the official language of communication, regardless of where the company is headquartered. German companies like BMW, Japanese companies like Toyota, and Korean companies like Samsung all conduct their international business in English. Why? Because it's simply more efficient to have one common language for global operations, and English has become that language. But the economic factor alone doesn't explain why English, rather than another major language, became dominant. To understand that, we need to look at another powerful force: American popular culture. In the decades following World War II, American movies, music, and television began to captivate audiences around the world. Hollywood became the center of global film production, churning out blockbusters that played in theaters from Tokyo to Paris to Rio de Janeiro. American music, from jazz and rock and roll to pop and hip-hop, dominated global airwaves. American television shows were broadcast in countries across the globe. This cultural dominance had a profound effect on the spread of English. Millions of people around the world learned English, not in classrooms, but by watching Hollywood movies, listening to American music, and following American television shows. They wanted to understand the lyrics to Beatles songs, laugh at the jokes in Friends, or follow the plot of Star Wars without subtitles. Cultural products weren't just entertainment, they were also powerful tools for spreading American values, ideas, and language across the globe. Through movies and music, people around the world were exposed to American English, including its slang, idioms, and cultural references. This created a positive feedback loop. The more popular American entertainment became, the more people wanted to learn English, and the more people learned English, the larger the market became for English language entertainment. But perhaps the most transformative development in the spread of the English language came with the digital revolution and the rise of the Internet. When the Internet was first developed in the United States in the late 1960s and early 1970s, it was naturally designed with English as its primary language. The first websites were in English. The programming languages used to build the Internet were based on English commands. The main tech companies driving the digital revolution, Microsoft, Apple, Google, Facebook, and others, were American companies operating primarily in English. As the Internet expanded globally in the 1990s and 2000s, it brought with it this built-in bias toward English. Even today, despite efforts to make the Internet more multilingual, approximately 60% of all web content is in English. The most popular websites and platforms, from Google to YouTube to Wikipedia, were created in English-speaking countries and offer their most comprehensive services in English. For many people around the world, using the Internet means using English. If you want to access the latest research, participate in global online communities, or use the most cutting-edge software, you'll likely need at least a basic understanding of English. This digital reality has further entrenched English as the global lingua franca, particularly among younger generations who have grown up online. Beyond business, entertainment, and technology, English has also become the primary language of science, medicine, and academic research. Approximately 80% of scientific journals are published in English. The most prestigious universities in the world, Harvard, Oxford, Stanford, MIT, teach in English and publish their research in English. Scientists from Berlin to Beijing publish their groundbreaking findings in English language journals to ensure that their work reaches the widest possible audience. This academic dominance means that anyone pursuing higher education or a career in research is virtually required to learn English. Students from non-English-speaking countries flock to universities in the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, and Australia, further spreading the language. And when they return to their home countries, they bring their English skills with them, often becoming English teachers themselves or working in fields that require English proficiency. The fifth major factor contributing to English's global dominance is the realm of international diplomacy and politics. English is one of the 6 official languages of the United Nations, but it's often the default language for international diplomatic communications. The world's most powerful military alliance, NATO, operates primarily in English. International treaties, agreements, and conventions are typically drafted in English, even when they involve non-English-speaking countries. When world leaders meet at global summits, they often speak English as a common language. This political dimension of English usage further cements its status as the language of global power and influence. So, we've traced how English went from a relatively minor language to the dominant global language through the combined forces of empire, economic power, cultural influence, technological innovation, academic prominence, and political usefulness. But what does this mean for you, personally? Why should you care about this historical and sociological phenomenon? The answer is simple yet profound. In today's interconnected world, English proficiency is not just a useful skill, it's a powerful tool for personal and professional advancement. Let me explain why. First, let's talk about career opportunities. In today's global job market, English proficiency is one of the most valuable skills you can have. Studies have shown that employees who speak English fluently earn significantly higher salaries, anywhere from 30% to 50% more than their non-English-speaking counterparts in the same positions. In countries like Brazil, China, and Saudi Arabia, professionals who speak English can command salaries that are sometimes double those of colleagues who don't. Why is this the case? Because English-speaking employees can communicate with international clients, work in global teams, and access opportunities that would otherwise be closed to them. They can work for multinational corporations, international organizations, or even foreign governments. They can pursue remote work opportunities with companies based in English-speaking countries, often earning salaries much higher than local rates. But the benefits of English proficiency go beyond just higher salaries. English opens doors to educational opportunities that might otherwise be inaccessible. The world's top universities, which consistently rank among the best in global education, are predominantly in English-speaking countries or teach in English. Scholarships, fellowships, and exchange programs often require English proficiency. Online courses from platforms like Coursera, ADX, and Khan Academy offer world-class education in English on virtually any subject you can imagine. In the realm of travel and cultural exchange, English serves as a global passport. When you speak English, you can navigate airports, hotels, restaurants, and tourist attractions in virtually any country in the world. You can strike up conversations with people from different cultures, make friends across borders, and experience the world in a more immersive way. English removes barriers and facilitates connections that would otherwise be impossible. For entrepreneurs and business owners, English opens up global markets. With English, you can sell your products or services internationally, communicate with suppliers from different countries, and tap into the vast resources of the global economy. You can read international business news, follow market trends, and stay informed about developments that might affect your industry. In the digital age, English proficiency also means access to information and entertainment. You can read books, articles, and research papers in their original language without waiting for translations. You can watch movies, TV shows, and YouTube videos without subtitles. You can participate in online forums, social media discussions, and global communities without language barriers. Perhaps most importantly, English proficiency gives you independence and confidence. When you speak English fluently, you don't need to rely on others to translate or interpret for you. You can navigate the world on your own terms, express your thoughts and ideas clearly, and advocate for yourself in international settings. This sense of empowerment is something that many English learners describe as life changing. But here's an interesting question to consider. If English is so dominant now, will it remain the global language forever? Or could another language, perhaps Mandarin Chinese, Spanish, or even a language that doesn't exist yet, eventually replace it? Let's explore this fascinating question. Some experts have suggested that as China's economic and political power grows, Mandarin Chinese could potentially challenge English's global dominance. After all, Mandarin already has more native speakers than English, approximately 1.3 billion compared to about 370 million for English. China is the world's second largest economy and is investing heavily in international projects like the Belt and Road Initiative, which could spread Chinese influence and language across Asia, Africa, and parts of Europe. However, there are several factors that make it unlikely that Mandarin will replace English as the global language, at least in the foreseeable future. First, there's the issue of linguistic complexity. Mandarin uses thousands of characters instead of an alphabet, making it significantly more difficult for non-native speakers to learn to read and write. The tonal nature of spoken Mandarin also presents challenges for learners from non-tonal language backgrounds. Second, there's the issue of existing infrastructure. English is already deeply embedded in global systems of business, education, technology, and entertainment. The cost and effort of switching these systems to another language would be enormous. And third, perhaps most tellingly, China itself recognizes the importance of English. Chinese students study English from an early age, and China sends more students to English-speaking universities than any other country. This suggests that even as China's global influence grows, it's adapting to the English-dominated world rather than trying to replace English with Mandarin. What about Spanish? With approximately 460 million native speakers and official status in 20 countries, Spanish is certainly a major global language. It's the second most studied language in the world after English, and the Hispanic population is growing rapidly in the United States, the world's largest economy. However, Spanish faces similar challenges to Mandarin in terms of displacing English. It lacks the same level of economic, technological, and cultural power that has made English so dominant. While Spanish is widely spoken in Latin America and Spain, it doesn't have the same global reach as English. And like China, Spanish-speaking countries recognize the importance of English, with English education being a priority in schools across the Spanish-speaking world. Another interesting possibility is that advances in translation technology might eventually make language learning unnecessary. As artificial intelligence improves, real-time translation tools are becoming increasingly accurate and accessible. Google Translate can now translate between over 100 languages, and devices like earbuds that provide instant translation are already on the market. In theory, these technologies could eventually make it possible for people to communicate across language barriers without anyone having to learn a second language. However, even the best translation technology has limitations. It can't capture nuances, cultural references, humor, or emotional subtext the way a fluent speaker can. Professional relationships, business negotiations, and personal connections all benefit from direct communication without technological intermediaries. And given how deeply English is embedded in global systems and culture, it's likely that even if translation technology reduces the necessity of learning English, the language will remain important for many aspects of global life. So while the future is always uncertain, all indications suggest that English will remain the dominant global language for the foreseeable future. Its position has been established not just through historical accidents or political power, but through a complex web of factors that reinforce each other: economic utility, cultural appeal, technological embeddedness, academic dominance, and political usefulness. Any language seeking to displace English would need to overcome all of these factors simultaneously, which seems unlikely in the next few generations at least. What does this mean for you as an English learner? It means that investing time and effort in improving your English skills is still one of the best investments you can make in your future. The returns on this investment, in terms of career opportunities, educational access, global mobility, and personal growth, are likely to remain high for decades to come. Now that we understand the historical forces that made English the global language and why it's likely to remain dominant, let's talk about what this means for you on a practical level. How can you harness the power of English to transform your own life? First, let's address a common misconception. You don't need to speak perfect English to benefit from English proficiency. Many non-native speakers worry too much about having a perfect accent or never making grammatical mistakes. But the truth is that effective communication is far more important than perfection. Being able to express your ideas clearly, understand others, and participate in English language environments will take you much further than obsessing over every small error. That said, there are different levels of English proficiency, and each unlocks different opportunities. At a basic level, knowing enough English to navigate travel situations, understand simple instructions, and have basic conversations can make international travel much easier and more enjoyable. It can also help you consume English language media with subtitles or translation assistance. At an intermediate level, you can begin to work with English speaking colleagues, follow English language news and entertainment without translation, and participate in international communities online or in person. Many jobs that require some English proficiency become available at this level, particularly in tourism, international sales, and customer service roles. But it's at the advanced level where English truly becomes transformative. When you can confidently participate in complex discussions, write sophisticated emails and reports, understand nuanced arguments, and present your ideas persuasively in English, a whole new world of opportunities opens up. You can work for multinational corporations, international organizations, or global nonprofits. You can study at prestigious universities abroad. You can build global professional networks and collaborate with experts from around the world. So how do you reach these levels of proficiency? Here are some practical strategies that have proven effective for millions of English learners around the world. Immerse yourself in English whenever possible. Watch English language movies and TV shows. Listen to English podcasts and music. Read English books and articles. Even if you don't understand everything at first, this exposure helps train your ear to the rhythms and patterns of the language. Start with content that has subtitles or translations in your native language. Then gradually challenge yourself with content that doesn't. Practice consistently. Language learning isn't something you can cram into intensive sessions once a week or month. Short, regular practice sessions, Even just 15–30 minutes daily are much more effective than occasional marathon study sessions. Use apps like Duolingo, Babbel, or Memrise for structured practice, or simply make a habit of reviewing vocabulary, reading articles, or watching videos in English each day. Find opportunities for authentic communication. Language is, at its core, a tool for communication. The best way to improve is to actually use English to communicate with others. This could mean joining language exchange programs, participating in English, language forums or social media groups, taking classes with other learners, or finding native English speakers to practice with. Many cities have language cafes or meetup groups for language exchange, and online platforms like Tandem and HelloTalk connect language learners around the world. Focus on your specific goals. Different English learners have different needs. If you're learning English for business, focus on professional vocabulary, email writing, and presentation skills. If you're preparing for academic study, emphasize reading comprehension, academic writing, and note-taking. If you're learning for travel, prioritize conversational skills and practical vocabulary. By tailoring your learning to your specific goals, you can make faster progress in the areas that matter most to you. Don't fear mistakes. Making errors is an essential part of the learning process. Every fluent English speaker, including native speakers, makes mistakes from time to time. What matters is that you keep communicating and learning from these errors. Many language learners report that their progress accelerated once they let go of their fear of making mistakes and focused instead on communicating their ideas effectively. Use technology to your advantage. We live in a golden age of language learning, with more resources available than ever before. Language learning apps, online courses, YouTube channels dedicated to English instruction, AI-powered writing assistance, and speech recognition tools can all supplement traditional learning methods. Find the tools that work best for your learning style and incorporate them into your routine. Connect with the culture, not just the language. Languages exist within cultural contexts, and understanding the cultures associated with English can enhance your language learning. Explore American, British, Australian, or other English-speaking cultures through their literature, film, music, cuisine, and traditions. This cultural knowledge not only makes learning more enjoyable, but also helps you understand idioms, cultural references, and communication styles that might otherwise be confusing. Let me share with you some real life stories of people whose lives were transformed by learning English. These aren't hypothetical examples. They're based on the experiences of real English learners from around the world. Consider the story of Maria from Brazil. Maria grew up in a small town where job opportunities were limited mostly to local businesses and factories. She studied English in school, but didn't take it seriously until her early 20s, when she realized that the local job market couldn't offer her the career growth she wanted. Determined to change her situation, Maria started dedicating an hour each day to improving her English skills. She watched American TV shows with subtitles, used language learning apps during her commute, and joined online forums where she could practice writing in English. After 2 years of consistent practice, Maria's English was good enough to apply for remote customer service positions with American companies. She got a job earning 3 times what she had been making locally, all while working from her home in Brazil. With her increased income, She was able to move to a better apartment, travel internationally for the first time, and even save for her future. Learning English literally tripled her income and expanded her professional horizons beyond what she had thought possible. Or take the case of Ahmed from Egypt. Ahmed was a talented software developer who had graduated at the top of his class from a university in Cairo. But despite his technical skills, he struggled to find well-paying work in his field. The problem wasn't his coding abilities, it was his limited English proficiency, which made it difficult for him to participate in the global tech community, read the latest documentation, or collaborate with international teams. Recognizing this barrier, Ahmed committed to improving his English. He joined open-source software projects where he could collaborate with developers from around the world, forced himself to read technical documentation in English instead of looking for translations, and started contributing to Stack Overflow and GitHub discussions in English. Within a year, his technical English was strong enough that he could confidently interview with international tech companies. He eventually landed a job with a European tech firm that allowed him to work remotely from Egypt while earning a European-level salary. His income increased by more than 400%, and he gained access to professional opportunities that would have been impossible without English. Then there's the story of Mei from China. Mei had always been interested in international relations and dreamed of working for a global organization. She studied English throughout school and college, but still didn't feel confident in her speaking abilities. After college, she took a job as an administrative assistant at a local company, but she knew this wasn't the career she wanted. Determined to improve her English speaking skills, Mei saved money for 6 months and then enrolled in a 3-month intensive English program in the Philippines, a popular destination for Asian students seeking affordable English immersion. During those 3 months, she spoke English every day, made friends from different countries, and gained the confidence she had been lacking. When she returned to China, her improved English skills helped her land a job with the Chinese office of an international NGO. 3 years later, she was transferred to the organization's headquarters in Geneva, Switzerland, fulfilling her dream of an international career. These stories illustrate a common theme. English proficiency isn't just about being able to communicate in another language, it's about accessing opportunities that would otherwise be out of reach. For Maria, Ahmed, Mei, and countless others around the world, English has been a tool for economic mobility, professional growth, and personal fulfillment. But beyond these individual success stories, there's a bigger picture to consider. In our increasingly connected and globalized world, those who can communicate across cultural and linguistic boundaries have a fundamental advantage. They can collaborate with diverse teams, access information from multiple sources, understand different perspectives, and build relationships across borders. English, as the current global lingua franca, is the most efficient way to gain this advantage. This doesn't mean that other languages aren't valuable or that English is inherently superior. Far from it, linguistic diversity is one of humanity's greatest cultural treasures, and every language offers unique ways of understanding and describing the world. Many of the most successful global professionals are multilingual, speaking both English and their native languages fluently. But in the current global landscape, English proficiency is simply too valuable to ignore. As we wrap up our exploration of English as the global language, I want to leave you with a challenge: commit to improving your English skills, not just as an academic exercise, but as a practical investment in your future. Set specific, achievable goals for your English learning journey. Perhaps you want to reach a level where you can watch English movies without subtitles, read English news articles with ease, or participate confidently in English language business meetings. Whatever your goals, write them down and create a concrete plan to achieve them. Remember that language learning is a marathon, not a sprint. There will be days when you feel like you're making great progress and days when you feel stuck. There will be moments of frustration and moments of breakthrough. What matters most is consistency, making regular progress, however small, toward your goals. And never forget why you're learning English in the first place. It's not just about grammar rules and vocabulary lists. It's about opening doors to new opportunities, connecting with people from different cultures, accessing information and entertainment from around the world, and ultimately, expanding your horizons beyond what would be possible in a monolingual life. English may have become the global language through historical circumstances and power dynamics that none of us individually controlled. But now that it occupies this position, we can each choose how to respond to this reality. We can ignore it and limit our opportunities, or we can embrace it as a tool for personal and professional growth. I believe that you have the capacity to master English and use it to transform your life. The journey may be challenging at times, but the rewards, in terms of career opportunities, educational access, global mobility, and personal growth, are well worth the effort. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of the English language and its role in our world. I hope you found it informative, thought-provoking, and motivating. If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider subscribing, leaving a review, or sharing it with friends who might benefit from this information. Your support helps me create more content to help English learners around the world. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and remember that every word you learn in English is a step toward a more connected and opportunity-rich future. This has been Grace, and you've been listening to English Listening Practice. I'll see you in the next episode. If you found this podcast helpful in your English learning journey, I'd love to hear from you. Please leave a comment sharing your thoughts or questions about today's topic. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss our upcoming episodes filled with valuable English learning content. And if you really enjoyed this episode, giving it a like helps our podcast reach more English learners around the world. Thank you for listening, and remember, every step you take in learning English brings you closer to unlocking incredible opportunities. Until next time.